The Bad Batch, Episode 6, Tribe. During a meetup to sell forged chain codes for Sid with the droid criminal organization, the Vanguard Axis, Omega ends up wandering around the space station and finds the VA droids beating up a young Wookiee with electrostaffs. And as you'd expect, Omega tries to get involved to help, and the two start a ruckus aboard the whole structure, which in turn interrupts the Bad Batch's illegal sale with the droids, and instead sees them getting involved by helping Omega and Echo to save the Wookiee child from the Vanguard Axis. So much for Sid's little side mission here, as the Batch have decided to do something pro bono. It's also during at this point that we find out that this isn't just some random ordinary Wookiee kid either, but the Jedi Padawan Gungi from the Clone Wars series. Now, how in the world he survived Order 66, I would love to know. Especially since even the Batch as well were puzzled with how Gungi's still alive and, well, let's be honest here. Being the combination of a Jedi and a Wookiee during the Imperial era isn't exactly living life in easy mode. Yeah, I'm sure he saw some things and people sacrificed themselves for him to be alive. I mean, I highly doubt all of his other Padawan friends are still around and kicking about, if you know what I mean. Regardless, Gungi tells the Batch that he's trying to return to Kashyyyk, his home world of which he remembers almost nothing about due to, well, being taken away as a baby. And to show Gungi that they're not like all the other clones who committed Order 66, the Batch agreed to take him back to Kashyyyk, with Echo warning that it may not be safe for him there as the Empire could have had established outposts there by now. Of which Hunter responds with a clever line that I like of, "He's a Jedi, he's not safe anywhere." Oh yeah, ain't that the truth? Once on Kashyyyk, the Batch find themselves somewhat lost as they have no idea where to take Gungi, nor does he know himself. And the one random village that they do find has already been destroyed. So it's safe to say that Echo was right and the Empire has already started making their mark on the planet. During their travels in the forest, the group also encounters some Kinraths, which I thought was both a very cool and yet unusual addition to this episode. And by that, I was expecting to perhaps see some of the Kashyyyk-based insects from, say, Jedi Fallen Order, rather than a spider that we last saw in the Knights of the Old Republic games. So yeah, I was not expecting that at all, but it was a neat surprise regardless. That and it being introduced here that Kinrath won't attack you unless you become hostile to them first, which I thought was a great little lore addition here as well. Eventually, the Batch run into some Trandoshan hunters and some AATs, of which Hunter weirdly refers to them as Imperial tanks, which was like, wait, what? You're telling me a guy who fought countless separatist AATs all throughout the Clone Wars still at this point can't tell what an AAT is? Not to mention that these AATs have nothing Imperial looking about them. They're dirty, painted green, and repurposed. I mean, sure, there are some crude Imperial logos, but still, I wouldn't call them Imperial tanks by any means. Especially since no Imperials are even piloting them, but Trandoshans. So, that was weird, but okay, rant over. As expected, the Batch take out these goons rather quickly, and later find Wookiee survivors led by a female Wookiee chief named Yana. She explains to them that the Trandoshans are helping the Empire strip the planet for resources. And I suppose in return, the Trandoshans can hunt and keep any Wookiee pelts that they can get their hands on. As I can only imagine the Trandoshans have to get something in return for this deal with the Empire. Wanting to help the local cause, the Batch agreed to aid Yana's people to fight off the Empire and the Trandoshans. After which we do get a decent firefight of the Batch doing what they do best, kicking butt. And yeah, it was okay, but my favorite part had to be Gungi's one-on-one with the Trandoshan commander Venomar. who unexpectedly ends up losing to the Kinrath and instead becomes their dinner. It was a dark yet oddly satisfying scene. After all the Wookiees that he's tortured, killed, enslaved, then yeah, he kinda deserves this. Overall, I'd say this episode definitely was an improvement over the last one, but I don't know. I kind of expected a bit more here. Like tension, for example, which this episode barely had any, especially with how predictable it was. Yeah, the two skirmishes here were nice and all, but come on, we all knew what the outcome would be before the fighting even started. I felt absolutely no tension here since it was just really some hunters taking on the most elite special ops squad in the galaxy. Which, no matter how you look at it, that's not a fair fight at all. You're pitting up normal, well, scummy hunters versus elite military. I'm not sure what kind of outcome here you'd be expecting other than the obvious. I mean, it'd be like watching an episode of Skeeter and his boys going up against Navy SEAL Team 6. Not exactly suspenseful or riveting stuff. It's baby food for the batch, and it shouldn't be the main highlight of the episode, which it was here. The Trandoshans never had a chance, and we all knew it. Then the episode just kind of awkwardly ends with Gungi and Omega praying to a tree, and I don't know. But it feels like there's more to this Kashyyyk plot than what we see here. Like, what I mean by this is just part 1 and part 2 comes out next week, and it's gonna be more jam-packed with even better things. Which I don't know if that's the case or not, but if it's not, then I can't say I was whelmed by this episode. Like I said, it wasn't bad, it had some neat moments, and the Kinrath were pretty cool. Not to mention it was an improvement over the last episode, but at the same time, let's not kid ourselves, that's not exactly saying much. With an episode featuring a fan favorite Jedi like Gungi and the Empire on Kashyyyk and all of the stories and everything we know about that, I was just expecting more than what we got here. Maybe seeing the Empire actually enslaving Wookiees and committing atrocities on Kashyyyk, for example, which, hey, if there's a part 2 and that's what we'll be getting, then I'm down for seeing Gungi tearing up some Imperials one by one for it next week. If that is indeed what we'll be getting. If not, then this episode's just gonna be an okay level for me, and that's about it. And that was my take on this episode of The Bad Batch. Let me know what you all thought about the episode in the comments down below, and if you haven't already, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.